Hello everyone, this is Rick, and today we are in the episode 2 of the Gupta Empire series. And in this episode, we will discuss about the origin of the Gupta period. In our last video, we have discussed about the sources of information regarding the Gupta Empire. However, in this video, we will focus on the facts like from where did the Gupta emperors come, who were the early rulers, and how did they gain power. So, without doing any delay, let's start. Introduction to Sri Gupta. Sri Gupta is the earliest Gupta ruler we find in our sources. The Poona Copper Plate Inscription identifies Sri Gupta as an Adhiraja of the Gupta Dynasty, dating his reign to around 240 to 280 AD, marking the beginning of documented Gupta history. So Sri Gupta has been mentioned in the Poona Copper Plate Inscription, which is in the Indian state of Maharashtra, and there the title given to Sri Gupta is Adhiraj. And this is the first Gupta ruler we find in documented Gupta history. His date has been around 240 to 280 AD. Riddhapura Copper Plate inscriptions mention Sri Gupta's association with Dharan Gotra, emphasizing his Brahmanical ties and early royal identity within the dynasty. So he has been associated with Dharan Gotra according to Riddhapura Copper Plate inscription, and thus we get a Brahmanical lineage in his hereditary and also early royal identity within the dynasty. Dr. R.C. Majumdar posits that Sri Gupta, referenced by Chinese traveler It Singh, had broader geographical influence beyond India, suggesting international recognition. So, according to nationalist historian Dr. R.C. Majumdar, Sri Gupta has been mentioned in the travel logs of It Singh, who was a Chinese traveler, and thus his empire had a broader geographical influence, and that influence was spread beyond India, suggesting that there was an international reputation of Sri Gupta. The likely location of Sri Gupta's kingdom was in northern or central Bengal, challenging the traditional Magadha centric view of the Gupta Empire. So, latest research moves away from the Magadha centric view of Gupta Empire and attributes the region of central or northern Bengal to be the location of Sri Gupta's kingdom. Early Gupta records indicate Sri Gupta and his successor Ghatotkacha held the title of Maharaj, suggesting their roles as feudal lords under the Murundas before rising to greater power. So they were probably feudal lords who functioned under the Murundas before becoming powerful. And two of the early Gupta rulers were Sri Gupta and his successor Ghatotkacha. So Ghatotkacha, he was the successor of Sri Gupta. Ghatotkacha is recorded as the son and successor of Sri Gupta, continuing the dynastic lineage and consolidating Gupta power during his reign. So he continued the dynastic lineage of the Guptas, and he has been recorded in every sources as the son and successor of Sri Gupta, and thus he consolidated Gupta power during his administration. His role in early Gupta history is very significant, likely involving military leadership and territorial expansion that led to the groundwork for future Gupta rulers. So, he is the ruler who seems to have been very powerful in a defensive way, in a military way, and thus he expanded his territory more than what his father had already given him, and thus he also laid the groundwork for the future Gupta rulers. Ghatotkacha is often confused with a later ruler named Ghatotkacha Gupta, but it is essential to distinguish between them for accurate historical understanding. So Ghatotkacha should not be confused with Ghatotkacha Gupta, who was a later Gupta ruler. This Ghatotkacha was the second ruler from the early Gupta dynasty. He may have served as the chief officer in Patliputra, indicating an early centralization of Gupta administration and governance in strategic locations. So he was probably the chief officer in the Magadhan capital of Patliputra, and that indicates early centralization of Gupta administration and efficiency of strategic location in the administration of the later Guptas. Ghatotkacha's governance, particularly in Vaishali under Chandragupta II, was crucial for the Gupta dynasty's consolidation and subsequent expansion across northern India. So, Ghatotkacha is very significant for the negotiation of his son's relationship with Vaishali, which we will learn in the later video, and that prompted Guptas to become more powerful in northern India and establish the dynasty or the empire for the Guptas. Origins of the Gupta dynasty. So, how did this dynasty originate? We have gone through two early rulers of the Gupta dynasty. Now, we will go through the origin of the Gupta dynasty. The origin of the Gupta family are obscure, with early records being sparse and theories about their rise still debated among historians. So, there is no concrete evidence which will give a unilinear direction to the origin of Gupta family. So this is a matter of debate because many sources state different kinds of origins, and thus this is a topic still debated among historians. Some scholars suggest the Guptas had associations with Sunga and Satavahana periods, implying potential alliances or vassal relationships during the formative years. So, some of the scholars are of the opinion that they were somehow in relationship with the Sungas or the Satavahanas, and thus they may have been alliances of both these great dynasties, or they may have had some kind of vassal relationship during the early years. Theories about Guptas originating near the Karaskara region add complexity to understanding their early territorial base and expansion. So, there are different theories regarding the place from where they originated, and thus there is a complexity in understanding the base of their foundation. The Gupta dynasty's participation in the Kumahotsava festival and other cultural events reflect their integration into regional traditions and social structures. So, they participated extensively in the regional festivals and culture, and thus we understand that they integrated into the religious tradition or regional cultures of the state they established their empire in. Dr. H.C. Raichodhuri insights connect the Guptas with Prabhavati Gupta and other prominent families, suggesting their interdynastic marriages and alliances that strengthen their political power. So, according to Dr. H.C. Raichodhuri, it was the marriage alliances and relationship interdynastic marriages and alliances that prompted the Guptas to rise into the political theatre of northern India. Gupta dynasty's Gotra and ancient roots. What was the Gotra of the Gupta dynasty and what was their lineage according to ancient history? The Gupta dynasty is associated with Dharan Gotra as suggested by Dr. H. C. Roy Chaudhary, indicating their adherence to Brahmanical traditions and establishing their royal identity. So, the basis of their royal identity is that they came from the Dharan Gotra, and their adherence was towards the Hindu Brahmanical traditions. There is a possible connection between the Guptas and Queen Dharini, who was the consort of Agnimitra, suggesting marital alliances that played a significant role in the dynasty's rise. So, Queen Dharini was probably somehow connected to the Guptas, and she was a consort of Agnimitra, and thus we know about the marital alliances and how they played a significant role in forming the power structure of northern India. The Gupta dynasty's links with Chandrasena and participation in Kumahotsava festival highlight their involvement in significant cultural and religious practices. So, their links with Chandrasena and their participation in religious or regional cultures highlight how they integrated themselves into the local culture of the state. These connections suggest that Guptas were well integrated into the broader Indian power structure, using marital alliances to consolidate their political influence. So, from all these evidences, we come to know that Guptas integrated themselves into the broader Indian power structure, and they used marital alliances as a catalyst to consolidate their political power and influence. The historical debate continues regarding the exact origins and early alliances of the Gupta dynasty, with ongoing research and archaeological evidence being crucial for further insights. So, there the debate between the origin and early lineage of the Gupta dynasty is still ongoing, and it needs to be researched, and archaeological evidence also can play a very important role in further insights. Dr. D.C. Ganguly's hypothesis. So, D.C. Ganguly, the eminent historian, proposed that Gupta dynasty originated in Murshidabad in Bengal, challenging the traditional view of Gupta's Magadha centric origin. So, there was the traditional view that Guptas originated from the state of Magad, from the Mahajanapad of Magad, but Dr. D.C. Ganguly challenged this theory and attributed the land of Murshidabad in Bengal to be the base form where the Gupta dynasty was founded. It Singh's account mentions Maharaja Sri Gupta, who built a temple for the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims, reflecting early Gupta international relations and religious patronage. So, according to the travel accounts of It Singh, it has been mentioned that Maharaj Sri Gupta built a temple for Chinese pilgrims, means there was a very good relation between India and China. So all the Chinese pilgrims used to visit India, and for them Maharaj Sri Gupta built a temple, and thus it is reflected that early Gupta had international relations and also gave religious patronage. The sanctuary linked to Chinese pilgrimage routes known as Milikia Sikia Pono, Milikia Sikia Pono, indicates that Gupta dynasty's support for Buddhist practices and cultural influence. So, from this, we come to know that Gupta dynasty had huge support for Buddhist practices, and also they had a great influence in the culture of the contemporary period. The temple's location, 200 miles from Nalanda, places it strategically near the Ganges, highlighting Gupta's control over key religious sites and infrastructure. So, the location of the temple, according to It Singh's accounts, has been mentioned to be 240 miles from Nalanda, and that places it near the Ganga River, which highlights how Gupta strategically controlled the religious sites and infrastructure. The debate over Murshidabad versus Magadh as the Gupta homeland remains ongoing, with Dr. Ganguly's theory reshaping the understanding of early Gupta expansion and influence. Geographical expansion. So, how was their empire extended geographically during the early times? Sri Gupta's contributions to Buddhist infrastructure, including temples for pilgrims near Nalanda, link the Gupta dynasty to spread of Buddhism in Asia. So Gupta dynasty helped to spread Buddhism in Asia, and that can be understood from the fact that Sri Gupta contributed to Buddhist infrastructure, including building of temples for the pilgrims near Nalanda. Texts like Vishnu Puran and Vayu Puran reference Gupta territories, including Magad and regions along the Ganges, suggesting a broad territorial base. So, in the text like Vishnu Puran and Vayu Puran, it has been referenced that Gupta territories included Magad and regions along the banks of river Ganga, and thus we get an understanding of a very broad territorial base. The Bhagavata Puran aligns Gupta's rule with sacred sites along the Ganges, highlighting the strategic importance of riverine control for the dynasty's expansion. So it was not only the regions around Magad. According to Bhagavad Puran, the Gupta controlled all the sacred sites along the Ganga river, and thus we understand how strategically organized were the Guptas and their importance, and how important it was to control the riverine territories for the dynasty's expansion. Dr. R.C. Majumdar challenges the traditional view by suggesting Magad was not the original home to the Guptas, indicating their later expansion into this region. So, according to Dr. R.C. Majumdar, he has also stated the same thing, that Magad was not the original home of the Guptas. Magad was acquired later in the process of expansion. Despite chronological difficulties, the geographical spread of Gupta Empire remains a subject of scholarly debate, with continued research needed to clarify their territorial origins. So, more research needs to be conducted in order to understand their territorial origin and the spread of the early Gupta Empire. Now, evaluating historical sources. How are these historical sources important? The Vishnu Puran and Vayu Puran provide essential insights into the extent of Gupta control, referencing their territories and religious influence across northern India. So, from the Vishnu Puran and Vayu Puran, we get to understand how the Guptas influenced the religious culture across northern India, and how did they get control over strategic territories. The Bhagavata Puran adds further context to the Gupta dynasty's geographical spread, connecting their rule to key religious and cultural sites along the Ganges. So, according to Bhagavat Puran, the Guptas spreaded geographically mainly by riverine control, by capturing all the important religious and cultural sites on the bank of river Ganga. It Singh's travel logs offer a valuable foreign perspective on the Guptas, particularly highlighting their contributions to Buddhist religious infrastructure. So it was not only territorial expansion but also religious patronage which helped the Guptas to get power, and that has been mentioned in the travel logs of It Singh, that he built Sri Gupta built a temple for the Chinese pilgrims. Archaeological evidence, including stupas and inscriptions, plays a crucial role in corroborating literary sources and mapping the geographical spread of Gupta Empire. So, from the archaeological evidences like the stupas and inscriptions and various other artifacts found in different sites, it sometimes corroborates to the literary sources of the Gupta period and helps in mapping the geographical spread of the dynasty. Discrepancies between literary accounts and archaeological findings highlight the complexities of reconstructing Gupta history, necessitating a multidisciplinary approach. So, neither literary nor archaeology can alone provide a solution to all the debates regarding the territorial basis of Gupta Empire, but both of these needs to work hand in hand in order to get a reconstruction of Gupta history. Conclusion: the legacy of the Gupta dynasty. Here we will go through a summary of the entire presentation. The ongoing debate over the Gupta dynasty's origins reflect the complexity of early Indian history with significant implications for understanding their rise to power. Dr. Dasharath Sharma's research, particularly his article in the Journal of Bihar Research Society in 1953, provides additional perspectives on the Gupta dynasty's origins. The Gupta dynasty's administrative practices, cultural achievements, and religious patronage influenced subsequent Indian kingdoms, marking them as pivotal era in history. The debate between Magad and Bengal as the original homeland of the Guptas continues, with each theory offering different insights into the dynasty's early expansion. The Gupta Empire's contributions to the Indian civilization, from art to governance, underscore their lasting legacy, making their origins a crucial area of ongoing historical research. So that was all about the origin and past lineage of the Gupta dynasty. We have also discussed two of the main founders of the dynasty, like Sri Gupta and his son and successor Ghatotkacha. Hope you have liked the video. This is going to be a long series where we are going in detail about all the aspects of Gupta dynasty. So please watch it, and this channel will help you to crack all the history related exams, and if you are interested in Indian history, you can obviously go through it. So thank you for your love and support. With your support, I hope to bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much.